If you hush, you can hear them rushing into town. They're a tactless, hapless band from all around, made of convicts, rebels, miscreants, and clowns. They won't do much to harm you if you keep your noses down. They are imperfect people, same as me or you. They are not seeking evil, only something new to write a separate sequel from the hitherto. They're always up to something, but they rarely think it through. Without the touch of fate, the half of them would happen dead. They're wiping problems off the plate. Accountability they dread. They may be bound for something great, but for the present find instead. For every single skill they have an issue of the head.
For every single skill they have a who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
Lord, you were so brave and strong fighting that snake thing.
Well, thanks, Jester. You know, snakes can be tricky, but I don't mind dealing with them.
They're not really my thing. Ooh, Bo, how much silver did I get? 7.
It's a rush to travel far from where you're born. Try to leave your coin purse fatter than before. So it is with Jester, Beauregard, and Ford. And if it gets too messy, they can move to the next shore.
And if it gets too heavy, they can move along once more. We are the gods we borrow. Who do you think you are? When tossed upon the wind, who do you think you are?
See not, those people are so flashy, no one will even notice us.
I hope you're right, Caleb. We could use a better day than yesterday.
Oh no, the blue one is coming over here.
Hi, I'm Jester. Don't move. Tieflings can only see movement. It's very true. But I can hear you.
Hello, my name is Caleb Widogast.
You should take a bath.
When you trust someone, it's hard to let them go, even when it's not the best of status quo. Still, a partner's better than being alone, and maybe it'd be safer if this partnership could grow.
Perhaps for Nod and Caleb they could find a way to.
I wear a mask.
Put that back on, you're drunk again.
It's itchy, like my fingers.
Are you a goblin?
Ooh, that's pretty great. I'm a little girl.
And if you hush, you can hear them rushing into town. They're a tactless, hapless band from all around, and they haven't yet a clue what they have found. For every coin they carry, they've an issue to surmount.
For every coin they carry, they've an.
Well, I don't believe I've ever seen a group of people more in need of a good time.
Who do you think
I see the inner struggle written all over your face. Life has dealt your hand, but you have yet to see the Fool of Swords. Shuffle up your expectations of what can be real. Tonight you'll find that I'm the one with whom you'll have to deal. I'll show you a new kind of awesome that differs much, along with my co-counsel Yasha. She doesn't talk much, but take it from the two of us who know your plight so well. Steal your coins and heed our call. Our trip's about to lead you all. Tonight we're gonna see you in the circus. Welcome to the show. The night could go wrong. Epicurean style. This is the fabled starting scene. This is the part we dare to dream. So follow me and welcome to the show!
Who do you think you are?
Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to the second Critical Concert. In case you missed our concert last year, this is a show that takes inspiration from NPR's Tiny Desk concert and Brian Wayne Foster's Between the Sheets. This year, musicians and artists from the Critical Role fan community have created new holiday-themed music for your listening pleasure. And after we hear their tunes, we get to chat with each artist about their process, inspiration, and whatever else comes to mind. We've got some wonderful holiday-themed, Critical Role-inspired music to share with you, but I want to talk about something serious before we get into the fun stuff. I know this time of year is a hard one for many people. Seasonal depression is a real thing, and the past couple years have been particularly tough. I'm not a mental health expert, but I can recommend reaching out to folks who are and finding good habits and healthy coping mechanisms to get you through those times. The goal of this is to bring people a little bit of holiday cheer, but if this season stresses you out, there are plenty of other shows on the internet with much more entertaining hosts. But if you'd like to hear some holiday tunes based on the world of Exandria and chat with some lovely musicians, boy do we have a show for you. This is
What to bring to the winter's crest? Darkest day, darkest day. Oh, what to bring to the winter's crest, too ready for the longest night. I have gathered berries red, darkest day, to make a wine for the feasting spread, and ready for the longest night. I have brought you twig and thorn, darkest day, to dress your head in a winter's crown, and ready for the longest night. What to bring to the winter's crest, darkest day, oh, what to bring to the winter's crest, to ready for the longest night. I have baked a golden pie, darkest day, to wish the sun back to the sky, ready for the longest night. I've no gift for the winter's crest, darkest day, for mine lie lost in a raven's nest. I'm dreading the longest night. No gift need you for the winter's crest, darkest day, but in revelry and togetherness we're ready for the longest night. Let rest your head at the winter's crest, darkest day, till dawn greet you on a robin's breast, awake from the longest night, awake from the longest night.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, Merle Harbron. In case you might not know, Merle is a folk musician and a composer who creates folk music inspired by games and nerdy culture. And to kick things off, would you tell us a little bit about this piece that you created for us?
So Winter's Crest Wassail is it's a wassail song. I've probably got that already.
Well, would you tell us a little bit about that? Because that, for some people, may not know what that is.
Yeah, so wassailing is a tradition from the British Isles. It's quite an old tradition. I don't know when it dates back to, but it's one of those. I have such a thing about old time traditions and like folklore and I mean I guess it comes out from my love of storytelling and I guess D&D, it all ties together, doesn't it, the whole folklore aspect, but I've just always been fascinated with Yule, like what came before Christmas, the kind of all those Yuletide traditions. Wassailing is just one of those. It's a little bit like carol singing, where you would like write songs, you'd go around people's houses, and if they liked your song, they'd invite you in for food, or wassail, which is actually a traditional drink, which is mulled cider with like spices and all kinds of fruits and things from the harvest. Yeah, it is very warming. I'm afraid I don't actually have any today. This is just tea.
I tried. I'm doing the exact same thing. This is the spiced tea as close as I can get.
I have a special brew today, which is it's called Lapsang Souchon, if you've heard of it. I think I'm pronouncing it right. It's smoky tea. You should try it. It's Beautiful. Like drinking a bonfire. I love a spiced tea. Nothing gets me Christmassier than a spicy tea. Yeah.
Yes.
So I filled up on tea and mulled cider, and then I wrote that song, inspired on a lot of wassailing songs that I've heard before. Just having grown up playing folk music.
Yeah.
Always this time of year, people will start singing those songs. People will start playing those tunes in the sessions. And when I read about the festival, when I was doing my research about it in the Winter's Crest, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like wassailing and tie into it. And like all the kind of like all the description of like revelry and pie eating and just like everything. I was like, oh yes, this sounds right up my street. So yeah, it was good to tie in all the kind of elements of my culture and my interest in folklore, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And that interest, I would assume, kind of ties into Critical Role as well, because it's got all of those kind of medieval aspects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that's why I love it so much, really.
And you love it so much that, in fact, you recently created a Kickstarter to create more nerdy music. And it was wildly successful. You not only did you meet your goal, you succeeded and passed a stretch goal. Tell us about that. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who made it possible. Like, it's absolutely unreal. It's been a dream of mine for a while. We did actually start like doing video game covers and fantasy music before, COVID happened, and then that all got plummeted into darkness. And then I really just got a kick up the bum, really, during that time, just being like, you've got to go and just start something. And I just had so many ideas for like fantasy music and like, I've been writing music for, I'm sure many people do this, writing music for our home games.
Oh, awesome.
And then, yeah, it's really cool. Like my DM as well, like everyone I play D&D with is basically everyone that I play folk music with. We're all kind of like that kind of circle. But
it's wonderful.
We write music together for our campaigns and things. But we were just like, hey, what if we just made like an album, like a D&D ambience album, which like people could have, to play along with their campaigns, and then we could have like different battle music and then different kind of styles, because we play tunes, like we play like folk tunes, and that's like when you walk into a tavern or something, that's what you're going to hear. So it was very much inspired by that, but the covers and things like that just comes out of our love of game music and just gaming in general, like whether that's video games or tabletop. It's just like creating that ambience and that immersion and that escapism. It was so good.
Can you tell me a little bit more about like the behind the scenes stuff with it, making a Kickstarter? I'm not familiar with it. And, I don't know if you've done this type of thing before, but just, actually getting it to happen seems a little bit complicated to me.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit daunting. I've never really done anything like that before. I've never really stuck my neck out. I think just like one day I decided, I was like, right, I'm going to need some money if I'm going to make this happen, if I'm going to make it good enough that it's going to reach, elsewhere. And I just start thinking about crowdfunding and, what I could use, what I could do with the money. Like I could pay musicians properly, which is, I think, a huge
Massive
thing that needs to be addressed. Yeah. And just artists in general, whether that's, visual as well.
Production, people behind the film, the cameras, mixing,
totally.
editing, all that stuff. That costs money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I have friends that are, in the creative industry, and I want to support them, and I want us to just be like a big unit.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. And we had one video released back in 2019, which did quite well, and we had a lot of good feedback from it, being like, we want more, guys, when are you going to do more? So I decided, I was like, right, okay, yeah, I'll get on this. I'll see, we have a saying in Newcastle, it's called Shy Bairns Getting Out. And it's, it just means basically if you don't go for it, you'll never get it, will you?
Yeah. You have told me that you're also involved in running these pub sessions. Musicians getting together in a bar and playing music, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's it. You've hit it on the head there.
Can you tell us about that? Because that is something that I'm absolutely in love with.
Yeah, so a session is quite literally what you said. So a bunch of musicians turn up at a pub or an ale house or somewhere that serves booze, probably, or someone's house. And just sits down and just gets your instruments out and just has a tune, have a few tunes, have a few drinks, sing some songs. It's always really great. And then you can go, it's for like any kind of level. So if you're just a beginner, you can go, and if you're not feeling too confident in leading a tune set, you can play some little chugs, little chords in the background. You could just strum along. You could just listen. You can just sit with your instrument and listen if you want. It's a very warm atmosphere. But you get all kinds of different types of session. You get song ones, which are all just like sharing songs, like usually a lot of shanties going on at the minute, of course.
Okay. Fair enough.
And then there's very fast. If you go up north to Scotland, the tunes are fast. They like to play fast up there. Yeah. And then what we're doing on Tuesday actually is we're going to do a more laid back kind of chilled session. It's me and the two lads that I'm in a band with. We're kind of like Irish trad, you could call it, Irish songs and tunes and things. But we're called Rabbit Foot Club. And
great name.
We play, isn't it? I know, it's so good. Rabbit Foot Club, yeah. So it's me and two lads, Michael and Arian. So it's fiddle, guitar, and accordion. Yeah.
Like Tallis type stuff.
Like a big, yes, exactly like Tallis. Yes, exactly like them. But a little bit more kind of Irishy, I guess you could call it. But we're just going to lead like a very laid back, kind of chilled session with some slower tunes. And yeah, should be good.
Oh, dude, I have read that you've got a jazz background as well as the folk stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how the interplay between those two genres has kind of built you as a musician? Is one supporting the other? Do you find that they play well with each other?
Yeah, I do actually. I've always had like a soft spot for mixing genres. Especially when I was growing up, going through school, I discovered folk music at 16. So before that, I was just learning classical violin, and I was doing a bit of jazz, but I still wasn't really gelling with it. I couldn't tell why I wasn't liking it. And then, at 16, I joined like a trad band with some friends, and we all fell in love with this idea of contemporary folk, and it was like all these mad chords that wouldn't normally be put with those tunes. And it was like almost like we're being mavericks, like breaking the foundations, because there is a lot of that in folk music. It's like, oh, well, this tune has to go with this chord and these lyrics and this structure and everything. And then there was this huge contemporary thing happening when it was like, no, we're going to put jazz chords to folk music and all that. And we were like 16 at the time. We were like, hell yes, that is what we're doing. Yeah, that was kind of how I discovered that I actually liked jazz, rather than just trying to force myself to learn standards. Because it's quite hard. I don't know. I found it hard on violin. A lot of it's geared to kind of sax and brass and that kind of thing, piano.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard some wonderful jazz violin in the past.
Oh, yes.
But it's not. I wouldn't open up a real book and expect all of those songs to actually work for violin.
Yeah. It's a complicated kind of thing to get into, but once you get into it, you find a love for it, and it's just you can't go back. Then really.
Yeah. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but the fiddle versus the violin. I know that I said violin and you corrected me very quickly.
Did I?
No. I take no
sorry.
offense. I found it hilarious, and I want to know because I'm assuming it's a folk thing. I use them interchangeably because I know nothing.
Yeah.
Can you enlighten us, please?
It's a pretentious thing. That's what it is. It's the exact same instrument. It's the exact same. It's really no difference between a violin and a fiddle.
But it's how you play it.
It's
a fiddle
how it's
player
played.
is cooler than a violin player.
Who told you that?
Again, I know nothing.
Yeah, it's how it's. I guess it goes down to the style of how it's played.
Yeah,
it just depends what I'm playing. So if I was playing like for a composer who wanted some, strings, some arpeggios or some long notes, then I would normally be like, yeah, I'll just put some violin over that. And then if they wanted something a bit more, melodic based, maybe like a few like licks, then it would be, oh yeah, fiddle.
Okay.
It's so stupid.
I like that answer. I love that answer. It's really helpful. This may be a stupid question, and feel free to tell me if it is. Do you think that it would be easier for a fiddle player to learn violin or for a violin player to learn fiddle?
That's a very good question. I started down the classical route. But I also, when I was practicing at home, my dad would put on all kinds of folk music because he was really into folk music. He'd put on
good on dad
loads of stuff, and I would play along with it. So I had experience in playing folk music. So it wasn't like strictly classical, but I know there are techniques of learning an instrument classically which are very, really, really like, gives you a strong technical foundation to work on, but it can be a little bit restricting sometimes, and it's the exact same in like folk as well, in trad. There are some people that would say if you held your violin like that is like the ultimate sin in the classical world. But then there's some people in like County Clare in Ireland who will literally play like they'll put it down here. I mean, in the Appalachians as well, they play it like that.
Okay.
And they get some wicked tunes out of that.
Oh yeah, no, some of those guys are nuts.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. So I would say it is quite hard if you've been strictly brought up, and if those techniques are drilled into your mind, then it can be quite hard to break away. Because when I go back to playing classical, like I have the way that I play vibrato is very different to how a lot of classical players would play vibrato. I wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong, but it's definitely not the done thing in symphony and those kind of things.
I want to know more about that. Can you please explain this?
I mean, it would help if I had my fiddle, but
if you have time, we can cut.
Yeah, I'll go grab it. 2 seconds. I mean, I could be totally wrong, by the way. Like, someone could be watching this being like, you're so wrong right now. But
it's art. There's no right answer.
There's a lot of like this, like vibrato wise, like okay. I think in classical, I mean, I really can't even do it anymore, but I think I do like a guitarist vibrato, when you like just kind of wiggle your fingers a little bit like that. And you just get a kind of like kind of thing. But then I think like in classical, like it's a lot of like full arm, like I was like, I haven't practiced that in years. I wouldn't know how to do that.
One last question for you. I'm glad you're holding the violin for this one. It just makes me happy. I'd like to know if you have any sort of winter holiday season, any tradition, any story. What does that time of year mean to you?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it stays pretty true to the song that I wrote. Really, I like to keep to the old ways. That sounds a little bit kind of murdery. It's a little bit pagan, but it is really like I like to kind of celebrate the world and like nature at this time. Really, I guess I know it's very bleak, but I really think it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful time of year. When I was doing the video actually for the song, I went out to the park and I was like trying to find all the wintry things like the berries and things. Yeah. And it was such a nice warm day. I was like, damn it, why? I got I was like trying to find all the berries and stuff, and it was just like the sun was beaming down. It was like green everywhere. There was like dogs everywhere. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. If this is a song about summer, this would be great. But I think I did a good job at pretending it was winter.
Absolutely, you nailed it.
But I love going out for walks this time of year and just getting right in amongst it and getting all chilly and crisp. I love music at this time of year and fellowship, just getting together, obviously with family, baking, cooking, just like making mulled cider, all of those things. And we always, on Boxing Day, we always used to go for a walk. The walk's been getting shorter and shorter as the years go by, but when we lived in Scotland in the hills, we used to go on a big hike to walk off the Christmas dinner, and that was always wonderful. So that was like our family tradition.
I love that.
Yeah, we always do a Christmas gig like with the band.
Nice.
We managed to do like a Hogmanay like New Year's Eve gig last year as well, which is awesome. That was really cool, like singing the new year in. It was really, really nice.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah, just loads of music, really.
Music, food, drinking,
yeah,
people. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Look, thank you so much for joining me, Merle. This has been an absolute pleasure. If people would like to know more about your music, where can they go?
Well, I try and make myself known on all the platforms. I'm really bad at it, but I'm on Twitter. It's just my name, Merle Harbron. And my YouTube is going to be kicking off soon with the Shillelagh Session stuff. You can just find it by typing in my name or Shillelagh Sessions, which is a little bit awkward. This was a SHILLEL.
Oh, these are D&D players are going to be watching this.
Well, yeah, all the D&D players will know how to spell it. Yeah. But I didn't know that it was an Irish thing before that. That's why I chose the name. I was like, oh, that's cool because it's D&D and folk music. Yes, perfect. I like that.
Yes.
But yeah, and then Instagram as well. Just the same handles, everything. But yeah, excellent. Things should be kicking off pretty soon with the project. So just keep an eye.
Will do. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing all of it. And thank you again. This has been a joy.
No, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great fun.
Welcome to the show, Ben. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Will.
For those who may not know, Benjamin Leds is a composer and a guitarist who creates instrumental and singer-songwriter music. And to kick us off, would you mind telling us a little bit about this piece that you made for us?
I think on last year's show, I saw your interview with Jake Lionheart.
Love him.
And he mentioned he had an album out that was like taking music and turning it into stories.
Yeah.
His entire album was a story of some kind. And the week before, in my D&D session, my character bumped into the Raven Queen. And I didn't know that essentially not only does she look over the weave, but she also looks over the memories. She keeps all the memories.
Okay.
And then there's very, very nice. She sent him to a memory where his best friend had died, and sent him to the memory to kind of just have one last moment together.
Yeah.
And it was a very sweet, touching moment. And I was like,
oh, wow.
You know what? Let's write a memory for her. Let's take a memory and kind of just write one for her. So the piece is essentially a memory from a certain half-elf rogue we may be familiar with.
Who could this be? I don't know.
I don't know. There's some mysterious figure, and essentially it's his memory of Winter's Crest.
Oh.
It's from his point of view. Just a bit out of it. Literally in the tracks. One track is called Scanlan. One track is called Dr. Dranzel. One track is called Kaylee. I can't find room for everyone. The very first part is like a music box sort of a thing.
Yes.
Because I thought maybe like his memory is inside a music box, makes up and is a music box that the Raven Queen plays once a year on Winter's Crest. So the first part is the melody being played on the music box, and then turns into the memory.
The full,
Yeah. The first part is essentially in a bar, just somewhere probably in West Run, probably, and with them just around the bar, around the table, dancing, everyone playing, and it sort of just pans over to like Whitestone is the third part. First part is music box, second box is in a bar in West Run. Third part is like kind of over Whitestone, so it's a bit more dramatic and a few more French horns and stuff like that. Wow. And that was my idea going into it.
No, I'm fascinated by this. I mean, so I know that every different composer has their own method, and it sounds like you have a very visual perspective when composing music. Does that help you when you're actually sitting down to write it? Or do you have the image in your head beforehand, or does that come later?
This was the first time that happened, actually. This is the first time that happened. Normally, I don't have too much stuff published on the internet yet. Well,
most of the stuff I've seen from you is more singer-songwriter stuff.
Exactly. I posted mostly covers on my YouTube channel, and then like in the last year, I just started to get more into composing. Like, I think I saw a few of Samuel Kim stuff, and if you haven't seen him, he is insane. He puts out like a full orchestral cover 2-3 times a week.
Dude.
2-3 times a week. Just churns them out. And they are all they're insane. So then I was like, want to get a bit more into composing.
Yeah.
Most of the composing that I've done is just like I'll figure out progression first, and then I'll figure a song around that.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the first time I had the idea before the song. But I think if I end up composing more stuff, it will be like I'll have the idea first.
Yeah. We've talked a little bit just on Discord. You were looking at VSTs a while back, which for those of you who may not know, that's a virtual instrument that producers use when making music on a computer. Did you end up settling on one, and how are you liking it?
Yes. This is the first piece that I've made with it. It's the East-West Quantum Leap Symphonic.
Okay, awesome.
It was like 60% off. It was crazy. It was well within range. It's well within budget, and it is so good. I'm still finding uses for it.
Fantastic.
New uses for it is insane.
Well, speaking of which, what are you working on now? What's the next step in your evolution down this composing path?
So I'm thinking about writing character themes for Vox Machina. I'm thinking about maybe writing a sort of, at this point, for those watching now, at this point in time, campaign 3 is coming out in about 3 days, and we're all secretly going insane inside waiting for it. I'm thinking about writing maybe a Marquette sort of a theme for Ankarel. Welcome to Ankarel, something I'm not quite sure.
Everything's legal there, I've heard. Yeah, no, speaking of campaign 3, do you have any predictions? What do you think we're going to see?
I really want Ashley to be a bard. That's about it. I just want another bard in the campaign.
I've seen that rumor on the internet. Where did that come from? It came completely out of the blue for me. But I've seen it multiple times.
Are you kidding me? Ashley picked up a harp. When her character went all the way out, picked up a harp from nowhere, and started playing it all the time.
Fair enough. That's on me. That's on me.
No, yes, that is on you. But yeah. So like I think like people wanted her to like people online were thinking about her multi-classing the bard. But then I think she only had like 7 charisma as Yasha.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. I have had a DM take pity on me. He let me take a feat that would allow me to multi-class into any class because of my terrible scores. But that's very homebrew. So maybe wouldn't have worked last campaign.
No, but that's awesome. I would love to have that feat. That would be awesome.
It's we'll talk after the stream about that build because it's super dumb and it's very fun. But cheers. Well, cheers. Yeah. Speaking of which, what are you drinking there? It looks lovely.
This, this is basically I had a bottle of white wine in the fridge. It's an Italian brand called Barte Nura. Ooh. It's called Barte Nura. I think it's well known in the East Coast, at least.
I'm not a wine guy. I don't know these things.
Yeah, so it's bottle of white, mixed in some Sprite, put some ice in, and no orange for taste.
All right.
I think it's called a white wine spritzer. And you?
Yeah, sure. Sounds delicious.
Thank you.
Well,
what you got there?
Yeah, this is just some soju, I think. A friend of mine is been teaching me about Korean culture and has been introducing me to all sorts of fun alcohols. But that's the closest thing to wine I had in the fridge for you.
That's all right. Well,
so speaking of L'chaim. Now, speaking of timey-wimey stuff, because things are going to be released weird, you got to work with some musicians in addition to just yourself on this. I don't know when this will be, what order this will be released in, but some other musicians who may or may not you've already seen on this stream, on this particular winter's stream. Right. You got to work with Spencer. You got to work with Jewel. Is that correct?
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying that up, by the way.
Yeah,
that was epic. That was so much fun.
Tell me about that process. What was it like working with those guys? How did it all come together?
So I needed to get my stuff mixed and mastered, and I also needed some cover art. I tried to do both by myself, but it didn't end too well.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, that's a lot of different things that you have to learn.
Yeah, exactly. So I reached out to you, and you told me that there's some fantastic cover artists that could help me. You also sent me some websites that could really help me out.
Yes, there are great free resources that you can find for royalty-free images, even video effects. So that stuff can be found even if you're not a visually minded person like me. Dumb people like me can still have stuff look good.
And me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
But yeah, so you managed to wrangle Jewel, who's like my favorite artist in the community. Fantastic person to work with. And what did you say to her? How did that process happen?
So I reached out to her, and she got back to me almost right away, I think. And I tried to describe it to her, and then I was like, you know what? I think the easiest way would be I sent her the song, and I sent her the story behind the song.
Love that.
Well, most of it, and then immediately she sent back this in the corner of the screen. Zoom is weird. I don't know. One of the corners of the screen of the video is just this nice vestige of the Raven Queen, and it looks so nice. And then the entire background is all ravens. And that's it was so well done. And she did
came out amazing.
Thank you so much, Jewel. Jewel,
Yes.
You are amazing.
We
Round of
stand.
applause, Jules. Yeah.
Absolutely.
As for Spencer, like, also reached out to him, and right away he's like, "Yeah, sure, send it over. I'll see what I can do. It might take me some time." Within 2 hours of sending him like 20 tracks, he sent back the whole thing. The whole 2 hours.
Man. Well,
It was the day after. It was the day after he released his album. Now I'm gonna check it out.
Yes, go watch. It is worth a listen. It is incredibly good, and it features a bunch of other friends of the show. So if you have not heard that album, please go listen to it.
Please, I loved it.
But I'm so happy that collaboration worked out for you. Genuinely, those are some of my favorite people in the community, and I'm glad you got to work with them. So with the guitar-driven stuff, I know that that's your kind of background. Do you see yourself continuing to do that, or are you going to just, or have you found this new thing and you're running to it full blast?
So right now, I'm currently splitting between them. I'm still splitting time between them because they're both have large areas of like space to go and to get better at, and I have a long way to go before I consider myself good at either of them. So I'm pursuing both of them.
It's not about that. It's about the progress that you make, in my opinion. You know, I take a look at stuff that I did like 5 years ago and I cringe at it. But you know, you look at the stuff I did 4 years ago, I'm like, oh, that's better. And that's what it's about, right?
Oh, like that. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm really hoping that I could be the same thing in 5 years, turn back and be like, wow, I can put so much better now. Like, yeah, I feel like I probably didn't work on this if I turn back and I don't say that. I feel like I probably didn't work so hard on it then. You know?
Yeah.
I haven't really progressed that much.
Fair enough. Now, when you for your roots, you know, the stuff that I've heard online, you do a lot of acoustic covers.
Yes.
What do you what is it that in a song that inspires you to say, oh, I want to do my version of this song? What type of song or what characteristics of it inspire you in that way?
I don't really know. There are some songs that I just either the song is very catchy and I'll find myself humming it, and I'll be like, you know what, let's do it.
Yeah.
But there are some songs that like I have to sit down to like really like learn. I think well the most recent one that's out most recently, I really like the story. I really like the Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. It's just
such a good song.
Beautiful. It's so good, and the melody and the intro is so nice. I love everything about it.
Yeah. No, it's a good pick. Now, I've got one last question, and this is one I'm asking everybody. But it's holiday time, or hopefully it will be by the time that you, the audience, see this. Are there any traditions, any stories that you'd be willing to share with us about the winter holidays for you personally?
So as for traditions, we celebrate Hanukkah. So everyone gets a little, candlestick, and we all play dreidel and stuff like that. And we normally have the family, 3 or 4 of the closer families all drive in. We all pile into one house and so kind of smush around the table.
That's what it's about, yeah.
Of course, all the smushing. Just cracking out the family games.
I love that. No better way to celebrate. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute joy to have you. Thank you for sharing your talents and time with us. If the folks want to hear more from you, where can they find you?
So my 2 most active places probably is at Ben Z Leds on Twitter, and at Benjamin Benjamin ZL on YouTube.
Excellent. Go there, folks. Thank you again, and we'll now transition to whatever next comes our way.
Happy holidays.
First went bramside, then umbrasil, straight to their doom. Borugo Raishan to then follow soon. But do you recall the most f***ed-up dragon of all? Thordak the Cinder King had a very shiny gem, and if a person saw it, they'd run the away from him. All of the other dragons used to come up to his thigh. That is until Vexaya shot him in the jamble's eye. As he shrunk before their eyes, Raishon turned to say, Vox Machina, end this fight. Bring me Thordak's corpse tonight. Then went the Raven Queen's champion, Whisper wielded at the ready. Thordak knew he was bested, and he turned away to flee. Thordak the Cinder King had a broken anchor soul gem, and when he saw Vox Machina, he ran away from them. All of the other heroes never could believe their ears when told of how the Cinder King finally learned the meaning of fear. As he dove beneath the earth, the maw held its breath, but they never heard a thing. Vex's whisper sentenced death. Thordak had been defeated, though the battle was not won. There stood the great deceiver, last one standing, Raishon. Raishon the sickly dragon got away with 2 red eggs, and when they scryed upon her, they saw an island far away. Desperate to cure her sickness, she searched the necromancer's cave to find. There stood our bravest heroes, recovered and with backup to fight. Using everything she had, Raishon fought to slay. Though some heroes might have died, thank the gods for Serenray. That was the final showdown of the fearsome Coma Conclave. The legend of Vox Machina, the heroes of Tal'Dorei.
Hi, Dani. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for coming back.
Well, thank you for having me.
For those who didn't watch last year, Dani Gage is a critter crafter and cosplay artist, as well as a wonderful musician. First off, would you tell us a little bit about this Thordak Christmas song that you created for us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I actually am watching Campaign 1 for the first time right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are you on?
Well, we just had finished the episode. I'm watching with my husband. We just finished watching the episode where they're on vacation after the year-long break.
Yes.
And there's the pranks that ensue. So we just finished up that one, which was a really fun time and very refreshing after all the before.
Yeah.
So it's been good. So we've been watching that, and I heard Sam's rendition of Thordak the Cinder King for the first time very, very recently. So when you came up with the idea of a holiday themed concert, I was like, well, I know what I'm going to do, because a lot of my songs are parodies.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's so
kind
good.
of how I came up with the idea. It's
How
not
long did
that
it
original.
No, I love it. I love it. Just really quick, what are your thoughts on Vox Machina versus the Mighty Nine? I mean, I know you started with Campaign 2, so obviously that's got to be close to your heart. But how is Vox Machina stacking up in comparison?
The Mighty Nine is definitely closer to my heart. Something I feel like I see a lot is people tend to be most attached to the campaign they started out with, it feels like.
Yeah.
And so like they're very near and dear to me. I'm having a lot of fun with Vox Machina. You know, they're very much the heroes that the world needs, and it's epic. And I love Grog so much.
A joy, a treat.
I never understood the hype till I actually started watching it, and Travis is so clever and quick with all of the wit that
Grog has. So I'm definitely enjoying the humor and everything that's scattered around throughout. But
Awesome.
yeah, I just love my Mighty Nine.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's like chocolate and peanut butter. Both are wonderful, right? You can't go wrong.
And they're even better together. As long as you're not allergic.
As long as you're not allergic. Oh my gosh.
Then that's
is someone eating Mighty Nine over here? Now, since last year's concert, you have collaborated with some of our other alumni, including Jake, including Megami. What is it like working with those folks? How's that all come together?
Oh, it's really fun. It's amazing. It's like a community, you know, and the song that we just released about, you know, coming together and becoming family. That's kind of almost what it feels like in a way. Like, you know, getting to work and create and tell stories through song with people, and getting to see the wonderful things that people create. It just kind of like makes you, it evokes like a sense of just like wonder, I guess. And just like, I don't know, like pride in each other. And it's been a really amazing experience to get to make and create with other people and, just see everybody grow. There's some amazing, talented musicians.
And watching that journey, that arc,
so.
it's like you said, amazing.
Yeah.
I noticed that you have been doing other cosplay and parody stuff on Instagram, on TikTok. I believe, if I remember correctly, Jester was your first cosplay.
Yeah, she was.
So
and
tell me about exploring these new cosplays that you have created since then.
Yeah. Okay. So I've only been really doing this about a year now, I think. And so when I saw that, like I had posted some Twitters on TikTok. What did I just say? I had posted some TikToks and I saw that they were about like a year old. And I was like, I've been doing that this long? That's wild. I don't know. I've found a lot of joy and been having a lot of fun and just getting to use my skills with sewing and being able to create like costumes. And it's kind of like role playing in a way where you get to like step into somebody's skin, as creepy as it sounds. But it's been a lot of fun doing that. And, you know, I've gotten to make my own like original airbender that I played on a stream.
I saw that.
Fun. She's so cute. I don't even remember off the top of my head. Oh, I've made some original like D&D character cosplays. I'm going to work on my bard next.
Nice.
Who I've played for like 2 years now. I'm really excited to do her outfit. But yeah,
tell me more about that. Like, what do you do when you've got an original character and you need to design a cosplay for something you don't necessarily have like reference art to go off of? How do you approach a project like that?
I mean, it's kind of just like dress up. You just, this will look really cool. This feels like it fits. For my bard, Miko, I had art made of her to like commemorate, you know, we've been together so long playing this game. And so we had art made. And so I had to think about her costume for that. And, you know, come up with something that's kind of practical for fighting things, but also is very fancy, like a bard would wear.
Sure.
And, you know, you just kind of go through this almost character building, but through clothing, in the same way that a lot of us, you know, do tell a story about a character through song. I'm telling a story about a character through clothing.
I love that. I love that. Now, with the cosplay stuff in particular, is there a particular process? I don't know anything, but is there a process? Is there a type of material or technique that you have not had the chance to work with, but that you would like to in the future?
Ooh. That's really difficult. Okay. I feel like I really would like to do like a floofy, very like delicate princess gown someday.
Yeah.
That would be really fun. And that like is working with like tulle and like other chiffon and all those delicate fabrics that I'm terrified to touch because they will literally disintegrate. So that's kind of on a wish list for me. I have like this, you know, every D&D D&D campaign is like not complete without a masquerade ball. So I have this whole design I made for her from one of those. She spent 300 gold on it. It's pretty epic. So
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
it's the most money I've ever dropped. And I was like, this is for a dress. Let's do it.
For context, for those who may not know, like my parents, a potion that literally heals your injuries, restores you back to full health, is worth 1/6 of what you dropped on a dress.
So yeah, it was the rest of my party was like, what are you doing? And I was like, having fun.
Amazing.
Good. It felt so good.
Well, I hope you're one day able to make that dress a reality, because that sounds absolutely spectacular. Now, pitch me on the whole TikTok thing. I don't understand social media. I'm barely on Twitter. What's happening on TikTok? Why should I join?
I don't even know if TikTok knows what's happening on TikTok. It's a mishmash and amalgamation of chaos. It's just, I would say it's kind of like Instagram and what's the one, Vine that used to be really popular.
Smash them together.
Yeah, like, or maybe it's more just like Vine, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's just like videos. And you can like flick your finger and the next video starts. And it's just a never ending feed of creation. And there's so many different sides to it. There's like book talk, which is really popular. People who like books, like talk about their favorite books. There's cosplay talk or whatever they call it. And
so it's not just music. It's people just like hanging out and shooting the shit.
Everything. Yeah. Like I think most people that do like the like dances to like the songs or whatever, I feel like that tends to be like teenagers.
Okay.
I only say that because I was a cheer coach. So like, that's all the teenagers did was TikTok dances. So that's like probably another side of TikTok, but there's a lot of different communities.
Yeah. Well, to bring things back to, you mentioned before that you had a cosplay you made for a stream. And I know that that's something that you've got experience with. How did you get into that? What's that experience been like?
I don't even know how I got into it, to be honest. I think I just, I was on the internets for friends because I had moved to a new town. So it's kind of hard to make friends in a smallish town, especially in the area where I am, because if there are nerds, I've only found a few and I am friends with those few.
Okay.
So, I joined Twitter because I was like, I want to meet people and stuff. And then, you make friends with people who do the streaming, and then I guess you start streaming with them also. And then you just kind of
just a dangerous slope.
Yeah. And it's been fun. I haven't been doing a lot of
awesome.
it lately, but I would definitely be down to do more.
Any highlights that you can think of from your time so far doing it?
Definitely the one I mentioned, the cosplay for, because
Right.
it was the Avatar: The Last Airbender gameplay stream, and they hadn't even released the quick guide yet. So we were the first people with
cool.
permission to
So
stream
cool.
it, which was, it was super cool. We got to do it for charity, and it was about cabbages. So what more could you ask for?
Well, for those who may not know, can you give us a quick pitch on that system? Did you like it?
I did. I loved it so much. It's got like a very big emphasis on like storytelling. I don't know if anyone ever has played like Masks. It's very much like that. I haven't played Monster of the Week, but I've heard some comparisons to that as well. But what it is in Masks is kind of similar is you basically play these young adventurers, or benders or non-benders even, who are still trying to like make their way in the world and discover who they are. And through the different mechanics that you are given, you play different like archetypes, I guess. Like I played the bold. I played the bold. So my character's out there and they just go do things. They're an instigator, but that also comes with like goals that they have, such as they want to see the world. And you choose those different goals. And as you accomplish them, they grow and they get different abilities and things that. But the really cool part is that you guys have to work together to really do anything. So like you set each other up for success. Like,
love that.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but if you play it, you'll see it. It just really encourages role play together and for the characters to grow together. And I don't know, it reminded me a lot of the actual show. Like for people who are fans of the show, it almost feels like it creates that same dynamic.
That's impressive from a mechanic standpoint to get there. That's wonderful.
It was super fun to play because you're like, I feel like I'm an Avatar character.
So one last question for you. If you don't mind, I'd just like to know what the wintertime, this holiday type of, era, if you will. Do you have a tradition that you like to have with your family? Is there a story that comes to mind with the cold weather? What does this time of year mean for you?
Ooh, traditions. So to be quite honest, my family didn't grow up having a lot of traditions. I don't think my parents had the energy for it. Yeah, which is totally understandable. You have a bunch of ADHD kids. It gets really exhausting.
Oh man.
What am I, something me and my husband have been trying to do is establish more traditions.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like. Especially in a year like this where it's kind of hard to be around like other people.
Yeah.
We're in SoCal, LA area where it's still going pretty strong as far as I know. So I feel like other places have kind of just been like, okay, it's died down. We're kind of fine, carry on. But down here, we're like, no.
I'm still panicking. Yeah.
Yes, same here. So yeah, there's still definitely like some separation and an ability to really to do that and gather, but maybe we'll create some more traditions this year. I'm not sure what they will be, to be honest. Is there a tradition you'd like to
establish?
You know what? There is some really cool like housing areas around here where people do all the really fun lights.
Oh, good.
And that's something you can do from the safety of your own car.
You can drive through there.
We can drive through. Yeah. So maybe just doing like a little like light seeing.
Well, I hope you do that this year. I really hope so. That sounds lovely.
It'd be a lot of fun.
And it was absolutely lovely to have you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. If you hadn't had me, I probably would have just broke my way through anyways.
Well, if people want to know more about you, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Dani Yogani. It's DANI. YOGANI. Nice. I just think about that. And on Etsy at Hoop and Loom.
Go do it, people. Thanks again.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Hanukkah Sameach.
Joyeux Noel.
¡Feliz Navidad! ¡Felices fiestas! ¡Y feliz Día de Reyes!
Seasons, feelings, and let's go!
Have a happy and safe Yuletide season.
Kuschata Tashitwa Konteni. Happy Winter's Crest from Malta.
From Alberta, Canada.
New York.
Washington, D.C.
From stuff on the internet. What is this?
De parte de todos nosotros los boricuas.
From Southern California.
We're an international community. Let's give globally. Hello, Kris. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, well, happy to be here, and just thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a joy. Yeah. For those who may not know, Kris Kirk is a composer and a sound designer who composes for games, film, and animation. And to kick us off, would you mind telling us a little bit about this piece you made for us?
Yeah. So, okay, where do I start? Well, the title, I guess, right? So it's called Snow, Moss, Earth, Lichen, and Love. I'm not sure about the pronunciation on lichen. I'm pretty sure that's
lichens. Yeah,
that's how I've heard it.
Yeah.
But I almost don't want to give it away. But that title itself has a deeper meaning, but it's also not that deep too. But
now's the time to tell if you don't mind.
Well, let's see. Yeah. Well, so it's a piece for Neela, the NPC that was portrayed by Sumali Montano on Critical Role Campaign 2. And one thing I really loved about Neela, well, so much really, but the fact that she had her smell bag and sense, that sense of smell and odors and that kind of connection she had with the things around her, I feel kind of came from there. And so knowing that this would be kind of a wintry type of theme, I was like, oh, well, wouldn't it be cool if there was a scene where it's just her tending to that moss and lichen garden and stuff, back at her village after the events of meeting the Mighty Nine. And I was like, oh, what do I call this piece though? And this whole thing started with the title. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could just make the title Smell? And so there you have it. So you have Snow, Moss, Earth, Lichen, Love, Smell.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm an idiot. So I was like, oh yeah, that'll be really fun.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
But it's also, I could imagine, her, if she was asked in that moment, what are you smelling right now? I could imagine all of those things, coming to her.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I was like, these are the things that she is experiencing in that moment, at least, nosily or however it is, smellily.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you were interested in kind of breaking the boundaries of what you've defined for yourself musically. Mm-hmm. Do you have any genres or moods that you haven't experimented with that you would like to in the future?
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, I would say jazz. Jazz is something I haven't really experimented with. I've done a few things one might call jazz, but I think any actual jazz musician would be like, so that would be really fun. Also just doing more things involving orchestra and uncommon instruments to it, I guess, awesome. Orchestra and a rock drum kit or something cool like that. That would be really neat.
I've got a couple bands I got to recommend to you.
Oh yeah, please do. And I love listening to it too. And I'm like, man, I should, it's I should try that. That would be really fun.
People who are familiar with our work may have seen you on our musical telephone project.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah. So what was that like? Because I was only
stressful.
Really involved. Tell me more.
I mean, it's so funny because, when I first got the video, it was so well done. I'm forgetting names on whom I received it from. But I was
did you get it from Erica?
Maybe. I think, yeah, probably. As I say more, I'm sure you'll be like, yeah, that was Erica. Yeah. But I got her drinking song, Sprig's drinking song. And I was like, oh, this is so well put together. This has to be the opening thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm second to go. I'm like, I can't forget anything. And I'm telling myself this as I'm watching it. Foolishly, I'm just like, oh wow, this is really good.
You're just enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm like, wow, that's a really great tune. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm supposed to remember shit. Oh god. I'm like, I didn't write anything down, and I'm just kind of there. And by the last 30 seconds of it, I'm just singing along. I'm like, I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, what else is there? Da, 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 da. Okay, good. And then I'm turning on my piano. like turning it up and I'm just like playing notes. I'm like, okay, what are the notes? What are the notes? I'm like, this is all I have. I'm like, there were lyrics. There were words. I was like, I don't have anything. So yeah, it was stressful, but it was so much fun. And I feel like I got to bring obviously, as we all did, just a piece of myself into that. So I was like, all right, let me, we'll do piano. I'll do some like hoo-has or something, get some fun vocal things in there. And then I was just like, okay, it's a drinking song. Let's make it sound like it's kind of in a tavern, I guess. And, that was done just a few months ago at this point, really. But even now listening to it, I'm like, wow, I could do that so much better now. So, it's nice seeing that growth for sure. But also I'm very proud of it because I was like, that was done after just, listening to it to like a minute and a half of a thing. Yeah. I'm like, all right, maybe we got chops.
Yeah, definitely the crucible right there. That is forged in fire. You've also you worked with a friend of the show, Jewel, on an adaptation of Liam O'Brien's Der Katzenprinz.
Oh yeah.
How did that all come together?
Okay, so I remember watching that episode live, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my god! I was like, what a story! I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I just found someone to narrate that, and then we just put music behind it? Yeah. I was like, do I know any people who speak German? And at that time, the answer was no. I was like, okay, well, maybe there's someone out there who can't, well, obviously, who can't speak German.
There's gotta be one or two.
Yeah, just at least a handful, right? And then I saw that Jewel had posted an illustration that they had done in German for Der Katzenprinz. And I was like, oh, and I saw that illustration. I was like, oh, wow, that's it does look like a legitimate children's book type of thing.
Yeah.
So I just reached out to them. I was like, hey, we've never spoken, but I'm a huge fan of Critical Role. I want to work on this with you. And I was like, here's my idea. Let's treat it kind of like an audiobook type thing. I was like, so if you're comfortable, we'll narrate it in German, and then I will just add music around it. And that's really all the idea was. And then, enter in Megan, a fabulous, I always say Megalos, but it's Megalus, like Legolas. Megalus art on Twitter and Instagram. Megan Barry is her name. Enter her, and she's like, I'll do it. Like this sounds really awesome. And so, a little back though, it took me a second to convince Jewel though to actually say yes to recording because she's very anxious and nervous, as anyone would be, for
if you're recording for the first time. Holy crap.
Yeah. And to have people listen to your voice, and not only that, but it's your adaptation of something that so many people find beloved.
Right.
I asked too much of Jewel, honestly, but Jewel stepped up, rose to the occasion, and delivered something truly amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. And I got the biggest compliment from Jewel because they're like, when she had listened to it, she's like, I really like the sound of my voice. What did you do? I was like,
yes.
I didn't do much. I EQ'd it, spaced things around, of course. But I was like, this is how I hear your voice, essentially, And so she was just like, this is wonderful. She's like, no regrets whatsoever.
That's awesome.
I was so special. And then we did it kind of chapter by chapter. You can hear it in the music too for Der Katzenprinz. It's just track by track. I was like, okay, we get this opening, in the world, there's a little small sick boy, I'm paraphrasing, who's kind of trapped in bed, essentially. But then, it's almost like a zoom out. It's and then, or maybe more of a zoom in. It's and then one day, while he was in bed, there was a cat who came from the woods. It's oh, well, that's a whole new scene. This needs new music. So kind of doing it that way.
Okay.
But yeah, so Megan came in, she did some incredible illustration. And then I can't remember who recommended it, be a little animated with like the fire from the stove.
Right.
But someone had recommended. I know it wasn't me. Because I was like, oh, we're gonna have art. That's great. And then they're like, oh, what if we had like an animated piece of art? I was like, oh my god, that's even better. I would have never thought of that. Yeah, right. Part of it too, I was like, well, we're doing this for free. Like, I don't want to have them do something any more than they normally would. So it's like maintaining expectation of those who are doing things for for passion and again for free. But so then it came back animated and it was so beautiful, just the light glow. And I remember getting very emotional just looking at the line art of it, of just little Caleb, just like looking at the book with such wonder and awe in his face, and his mother just kind of like sitting there reading it to him. It just, it reminded me of when my mom, would read to me when I was younger. And so I told Megan that, and we had like a group chat, and I was like, I'm getting choked up here. Like, this is evoking some like really precious memories for myself. It's such a tender moment. I was like, and you captured the expression perfectly, just the wonder in his eyes. I was like, oh my gosh. So that made it even more of like a project that I was like, this is special, maybe not to many people, but at least to me it is. Yeah. And finding that in every project, I think is really important to me. Like, what makes it special for me, of course. And then we put it together, slapped it on YouTube and tweeted it at Liam, and he saw it, he retweeted it and everything. And amazing. The rest from there, people just saw it and loved it. And, now it's doing quite well on YouTube. And, we had a thing where if you were to donate to the Critical Role Foundation, and like sent us proof of like, hey, I sent $1, I sent $5, whatever, we would just send you like a bundle of it essentially. So it's like you get the video. I fixed the video because I'm not the greatest video editor. There's like a moment. Well, you know what? Don't go looking for it. But there's a few things.
But you cleaned it up and sent it out.
I cleaned it up, exactly. So we send out the cleaned up video with like a nice fade in and stuff like that. So it's not just like a sudden thing. We're learning.
and that's the joy of it. Prior to this, you had also been scoring for video games and such. So doing background music. What's that process like?
Just like scoring for games and Oh yeah, it's an utter blast. Just getting to, it's different from doing like a short film. I've just done 1 or 2 student films. But it's different and it's not, because like I still feel like you're still servicing the picture at large, right? Or the game rather at large. So it's just a matter of finding music that feels appropriate, one, but also that isn't going to distract too much, except for the moments when you want it to, right? Okay. Like a stinger type of thing. Many of the tracks are just 1 minute to like maybe 1 minute and 12 seconds or so that has to loop, obviously, seamlessly.
Right. How is that
also, done? Also, it can't get tiring to listen to, right?
Yeah.
And how, like, just for like a video game loop or a loop in general, my strategy is I take whatever MIDI I'm working with or audio, if I'm privileged to, have a live musician on it, which Jess Kone is on the Call Me Sarah tracks. Nice. And so is Megami. Sorry.
Oh,
Megami.
Yeah.
Megami is also in the Call Me Sarah stuff. She's a fantastic vocalist. We'll get to her in a hot second, I think, here. As well as my some friends I made in New York for guitar stuff.
Nice.
Spacing on her name, but I could see her right now. Vicky Alvarez. She's doing classical guitar for it. But cool. So I just take those stems and then I will just copy them twice, and then I will bounce the audio so that way you still get the reverb tail, and then the music starts playing essentially again. Okay. Instead of using the cycle feature. Because that will give you an audio, or I'm sorry, give you the reverb tail. And then I don't know though. To me, it just because you're not capturing it with the other sounds as they come in, so you can still kind of hear a bit of that kind of like, you can hear it cycle essentially. You can hear the loop, and the goal obviously is to make it sound seamless. So by copying everything twice and then just bouncing it a little past the loop point,
so you cut it in the middle.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
And then what I'll do is I will just trim the part where it should loop, bring that to a whole other audio section or audio track. I'm a professional. Audio track. And then I will just do some like fading in, fade out, and I'll just kind of tweak it until it sounds about right.
Nice.
And then I'll loop that a few times, mute it, and then I'll, play it, and then I'll solo it, just so I'm not listening to it right on when it starts, just to kind of like test my own self to see like, has it looped yet? And I'm like, no, it hasn't looped yet. I'm like, okay, now it's looped by now. And then I'm like, okay, where's the loop point? And I try and ignore like all the composition behind it. Like, oh yeah, I know, I remember the guitar does this, and then there's the loop. Sometimes it can't be helped though, because you work hours and hours on these things.
For sure.
So that's essentially the quick and dirty on that process.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, one last question to wrap things up. As you know, it's winter time right now in our
imaginary. It's so cold right now. Oh man, I'm not sweating.
All I want to know is what this time. The headphones are coming off. The headphones are back on. All right.
Oh no, I'm just fixing my hair. It's getting in the way.
Perfect. No, I understand that completely.
Lox Machina.
Yes, dude. Now it's the winter right now. All I want to know is what this time of year means to you, what this holiday season means to you. Do you have a favorite tradition? If there's a story that comes to mind, anything really?
For me, it's just this season, as cold as it is, wherever you are. I guess it depends on the hemisphere too. For us, though, at least, or myself over here on the Western Hemisphere, it just means I get to bundle up a little bit more. Much of my wardrobe is built around the cold and bundling and like getting to wear, sweaters and, right now sweatpants, since still not really going out too much.
Yeah, I get that.
Working from home and that kind of like, just doing that and like just having like hot chocolate or, so they're Mexican canela tea. So it's made with cinnamon sticks, but like it's not like the really tightly wound cinnamon sticks you get at most grocery stores. I used to think it was Mexican cinnamon, but I believe it comes from Indonesia when I looked it up. But it's looser, it's much more brittle. And so that's really all you do. You just take some of that, you boil it in water, makes the house smell amazing. Makes it smell like winter.
This sounds
honestly
amazing
for me. And then just sugar to taste. So a lot or a little, but that's really, it's just cinnamon water and sugar. But like that specifically with that kind of cinnamon, it's absolutely amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. Unless if you're averse to cinnamon, you do you. But like,
well, I will be trying it. Thank you for the rec.
Yeah, highly recommend it. And there's the difference between like the more commercial cinnamon that's out there and then this other one. So definitely look it up for yourself and
Roger that.
Get the other one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us. This has been a total blast.
This has been tremendous.
Yeah. Well, if people want to know more about you, where can they find you online?
Yeah. Want to know more about me? You can follow me on Twitter at Composer Kirk. I'm pretty much that Composer Kirk on all social media. Perfect. So if I have the account, if I'm on the, that bit of social media, just look up Composer Kirk and it's most likely going to be me. If it's not, I like to know who it is.
Yeah. Find them and tell me.
Yeah, exactly. So that, and then composerkirk.bandcamp.com, composerkirk.com.
Fantastic.
And then I'm Kris Kirk on YouTube because because when I made the YouTube channel, it was years before, we forgive little Kris, but yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy, and we will now cut to our next piece of the program.
Woo.
Celebrating winter's grass ride, partying in Whitestone all night. Fireworks fill up the sky with lights. Come join in the fun we don't bite. Shout out to Briarwood, you know they wish they could take all the city back from the Dorolo pack. I wish a Briarwood, Whitestone is safe at last. Now that the evil's past, so we can celebrate winter's crest and have a blast. I'm gonna open gifts, then go to Slayer's Cake. I heard they got a scamming strawberry shortball cake. Been 5 years since we did this fest. Whitestone can once again have a winter's crest. Celebrating winter's crest, right? Partying in Whitestone all night. Fireworks fill up the sky with lights. Come join in the fun we don't bite. I said, happy holiday, we gon' party till the sun sets. Night still young, there's so much we haven't done yet. Come gather around, we'll be chillin' by the sun trees. See the fireworks launched by Lord Percy. Living here in Whitestone, never a dull night. So let's all raise a toast to the city with the most. I swear this holiday's gonna be so legendary. Party in a wild mountain Tal'Dorei. Celebrating winter's crest, right? Partying in Whitestone all night. Fireworks fill up the sky with lights. Come join in the fun we don't bite. Celebrating winter's crest, right? Partying in Whitestone all night. Fireworks fill up the sky with lights. Come join in the fun we don't bite.
Hey, Matt, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Hello, glad to be here. I'm excited. I'm in the holiday season. It's exciting.
Sir. In case you haven't heard, Matt Denkins, aka Denkins, is a songwriter and bard who makes D&D and Magic the Gathering flavored songs. First off, would you tell us a little bit about this piece you made for us?
Yes. So with this one, I think I had named the song Briarwood when I was making it, just because it was kind of based on how I imagined at the end of those like campy 90s movies where like the bad guys got defeated and everyone's having like their crazy party like you see in all those movies. I imagined that's what it sounded like, having this type of party. And everybody in Whitestone just going like, they're just going to break out into like a flash mob and sing this song. And like they've been waiting like 5 years for this to happen. Little did they know
Boys
that,
reunite.
Exactly. Everything was just like, this is it. Our moment, guys. All right, get the lights, get the stage, and then just go for it. And that was what I imagined that it would sound like. Because obviously it's like for being in like this super dark, depressing place for 5 years, and not one person's just trying to like brighten their day by like humming a song or singing a tune. I guess the Briarwood's like, hey, stop. No, we don't do that here. But I named it the Briarwoods just because of that line where it's like, I wish a Briar would. And I was like, I'll write a whole thing about this. This is good. I tend to find a pun and then just stick with it and go for that for the whole thing.
So that's what I was going to ask you, actually. You and I share a love of parody music. How do you start with your parody writing? Does it start with the joke? Does it start with, oh, this song would be really fun to do?
A little of both, depending on like how like crazy in the mind I am for making this like whatever parody I want to at the moment. A lot of it comes from, I'll just be like driving around town and I'll have like my music playlist going. And if it's like a song I heard from back in the day, like I was listening to like Bare Naked Ladies, and then I was like, oh man, that'd be funny to be like, it's been a week since I played D&D, and then made a whole thing about that with Weston Arcane Anthems. And that was like, oh man, this is good. Okay. Yeah. And so a lot of it was like, okay, I remember these rock songs from like when I was younger, or when I played like the Rock Band games and stuff. And I'm just, those melodies are just like stained in my brain where I can't get them out. So I'm just like, the closest thing I can apply it to is what I'm currently doing, which is playing D&D or playing Magic the Gathering. Other times, if there is a newer song that comes out that I hear something that's catchy, and I'll just be talking with friends and then hear a phrase that they'll say, I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds like hold on, and then go write a whole song really quick and be like, all right, tell me how this sounds really quick, and then play the whole thing for them. It's like a fever dream of just like, I need to get this out as soon as I can and write it. So it really depends on like what inspiration strikes. But most of the time, it's just like old songs that I've heard as a kid, and I was like, "This will be corny. Okay, let's go with this." Make it.
Does it usually all happen all at once for you? Do you ever have to like struggle, like, "Oh, I've got this idea, but I don't really know how to put the pieces together"?
Yeah, there have been times like that for more of like in the recording process. A lot of it, though, if it's an idea that I'm like, "All right, this is a good one, I can roll with it," I'll generally sit there and I don't look at clocks because I'll lose track of time, and I always do. And I'll say, "Oh, cool, this took me like a couple minutes," and I look and it's been like 3 hours. I've just been sitting looking at my phone notepad, just typing. But then I'll have like a whole song fleshed out, and I'm like, "Cool." Next day, I'll go and try and record it, and then generally, as I go to record a song, as I'm actually like performing it, and you probably had this too, where you're like, that doesn't sound right, and then you just change stuff on the fly.
Sure,
Some other tweaks come like that, but for the most part, it's generally just a one. Like once I have the idea, I don't work on anything else or don't do anything. I just get through it specifically. There's been like maybe 1 or 2 times where I'm either collaborating, where I have to like wait, and that gives me time to think about what I'm doing. Otherwise, if I think it's a dumb pun, I got to get it out quick before I regret it. I'll just be like, yeah, let's just go as soon as I can. I think that's what I did with the Wu-Tang song with Scanlan, that I was just like, before I think of anything else, let me just, I'm not going to beat this. Let me just get this out of here, out of my brain. I can't do anything else until this is done.
Well, so you've got so many Critical Role Campaign 1 references, which tells me you're an OG critter. When did you get started on the Critical Role bandwagon? Did it come from Magic the Gathering? Did it come differently?
I went to a Comic-Con with my friend, and I had went there because they had Greg Sipes, the voice of Beast Boy, and I was like, oh, this will be cool to meet him. And I wasn't into D&D or anything like that at that time. And my friend on the way there was wearing the "How do you want to do this" jacket. And I was like, oh, what's that? I've never heard of it. And he was like, oh, it's Critical Role. It's like these voice actors. And I was like, oh, I think I've heard of like Matt Mercer from like Overwatch and stuff like that. And then we got there, and he was like purchasing some dice and all these other things and taking pictures with all these like Critical Role cosplayers, which at the time I was like, what? Why is that person green? What's going on? This was like mid-campaign 2. During that. And then when we were there during our downtime, I was like, so that was a fun day at the Comic-Con. What was all that? What did you just do? What was that whole situation? Now looking back on it, had I known this information, I would have been right there next to him taking all those pictures. But I was instead just like, all right, cool. Yeah. All right, thanks. Yeah, cool. But then when we were just chilling out in our hotel, he was like, hey, I'll put on the first episode of campaign. I think campaign 2 had just started around that. They were like, maybe like 10, 15 episodes in. So it was still pretty new when I got into it for that campaign. So I'd watched the first episode and was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then a week passed and I was like, I'll check another one out. And then watched another episode. And then I was like, ooh, all right, I'm caught up. What do I do now? He's like, well, they had a first campaign. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. Let's check that out. And now I'm here. I'm in it. I'm lost. I'm lost in the sauce.
And here you are. You've gotten big on this little thing called TikTok. For those of you, for those of us like me who aren't on the platform, give us a quick pitch. What is TikTok? What do you do on there? And how did it all start for you?
So TikTok, you make, originally it was kind of like Vine, where you had a set amount of time and you could make a video, upload it. Vine, I think, had 6 seconds and then went up to a minute. TikTok started with a minute, which was, that was kind of like the creative space you had to work with. You could do stuff that was shorter, but generally a minute was all you had. Which that's how I had originally started when making songs. But when I first went on TikTok, I thought, because I barely was into D&D at the time, I just started playing at my local stores and started buying dice, and now it got crazy after that. But I was like, oh man, I spent a lot of money on dice. Let me just try and make dice or make things. And so I tried becoming like a craft TikTok channel. I was like, oh, I'm going to make stuff. I'm going to be so creative. My brother-in-law and I did some woodworking, and we actually cut a branch from a tree in his backyard, and we made this dice tower.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just a straight up tree branch, but we just dremeled into it. And I was like, oh, I need something to go onto my dice tray. So we cut out a little hole so you can just slip it there, and then the dice go right in on the top. And it's really cool. And we found
That's
this rock
fantastic.
and cut it to shape and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'm on a roll. I'm going to be doing some crafting stuff.
So cool.
That took about like a month to do. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I'm going to do that. And I ended up making some dice, and those dice were cool. I wasn't the best at it, but like it was enough to be like, this is a neat hobby. This will be cool. I made like little chests that you can see in some of my videos that we like burned in runes. Because originally I was like, I'm going to be a craft TikToker, and then I'm going to like try and run my own D&D games and make my own props because like I'm a prop guy. And I think because I saw Matt make those little health potions that he gave to everybody at the table, I was like, this is good. This is awesome. And I've still not DM'd a day in my life. I just enjoyed being a player too much to do
Fair
that.
enough. It's very fun.
Then one day, I think there was a song by, I think it was like Freddie Paul. I can't remember the guy's name. It was some TikTok audio that the song was in a different language, but it had this like crazy beat drop. And I was like, oh, this is a neat song. And then I just started humming like, oh, I got new dice, da 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 da. And I was like, I could record stuff. Sure. I opened like Audacity. I had like no music programs on my computer. I had like maybe Fruity Loops from back when I was like a high schooler thinking like, yeah, I'm going to make dubstep. This is cool. And then just never touched it after that. And so I had opened Audacity. I found the instrumental for the song and was like, let me just make a little rap about new dice. And I had a minute. So I was like, okay, say as much as you can, just get it through. I think it ended up only being like 21 seconds, but I had posted that and it just got super crazy. Everyone was just like, this is the best thing ever. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. Crafting was a bit hard anyway. Let me try. This was easier. Let me go with this.
This was easier.
So started doing that, making all those songs. And I think the one I had made after that, I want to say it was like a Warlock song with Ford or something like that. It's a blur with the amount of just smaller songs. They add up over time. When I go back and scroll, I'm like, oh no, I did all this.
A lot.
It's crazy. And everyone's always like, is there an album? And I'm like, I can't. Parodies are not, that's not a thing you can just make an album on easily because, you know, I like not being sued by people.
I feel you.
Right?
I feel you.
If only like lawsuits and things like that didn't exist. But honestly, I'm just like, it's free on here. You can just loop the thing. It does it on its own.
Absolutely.
But it started from me just buying one too many dice and not wanting to craft stuff anymore because it was it was hard. Resin is expensive.
That's so cool. I mean, it sounds like D&D in general has inspired you in a lot of different ways. But I want to talk about your musical inspirations as well. Do you have like any artists or albums or songs that are like the top of the top for you?
Yes, I would say my favorite artist is George Watsky, spoken word artist, rapper. I think I just recently seen a TikTok where they put a graph of rappers and how their vocabulary, how verbose they were and like what different words they use. And he was up there. And I was like, I didn't even need to see anyone else. It was like Wu-Tang and then Watsky was a little bit above them. And I was like, all right, cool. I made the right choice in my career. But his album, All You Can Do, was one of the first songs that I had purchased, and he actually had like signed it. I went and saw him in concert back when I was in high school, and he played harmonica, and I was like, that's a cool instrument. I couldn't play it. I had just did percussion and stuff, so I just hit things with sticks.
Yes,
but I wanted to get an instrument for him to sign. I was like, I don't have a harmonica. What can I get? And so it's not this one. It looks exactly like this, but I have a kazoo that I took to the concert and was like, hey man, I don't have a harmonica. Can you sign this? And so in my other room, I have a signed Watsky kazoo.
Amazing.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It just kind of sits there. But at the same time, it's like,
oh, you keep that. You hang on to that.
I don't think anyone has a signed kazoo by Watsky. So
amazing.
That's the landmark there. But yeah, he's just his way to pick a rhyming pattern or rhyming scheme, or even just stick to a topic and change it with whatever words he decides would fit for it. It just helps. And he has a lot of different types of songs, like genre wise. He made a whole bluegrass album and then like hid it away, put it like onto YouTube unlisted or something. But he just jumps around from different genres. And I'm like, that's cool. I don't like to have to stick to one thing specifically. And that's where like I had started with D&D and then was like, well, since I'm a nerd, I can do other things too. And that's when I was like, well, magic's right there. Let me just hop over to that. And so I'm slowly trying to figure out like what other things would be good. I think I made like one fighting game song, which was kind of cool with the Purple Sharpie. But slowly building out the casting like a wider net of different nerddom stuff to start doing. But definitely Watsky's been the major inspiration for all of it, just because he raps fast. I think it was Watsky Raps Fast was the first video I saw of him where he just goes as fast as he can. And then me and my friend just challenge each other each week. We'd be like, all right, you take it this time, you take it this time. And that's why I had made the Tiamat rap that was just trying to go as fast as I can. And it's just a fun challenge because people will say I talk fast. I don't think I do sometimes, unless I'm very excited like I am now, trying to just word vomit all these things. But it will, it's fun to just try and figure out how many words you could try and fit into a minute, especially with where I was limited on TikTok to kind of attain or strive to be like what he does. Cause then it's just like, that's the goal, is to try and do something equivalent to what Watsky does and did during this time.
I will say, your track you did with Autumn Orange, I wanted to mention to you, and I'll say this live, the rhyme scheme you built around the name Beauregard on Dope Monk shit, but you never actually used the name. It was super subtle. I loved it. So well done. I can tell that you're kind of embodying that mentality. So well done.
It's fun to try and, I guess, dance around the subject there, because it was like doing that, not using the actual name and just trying to make it still flow, which worked. And then also just always shouting out Sam Riegel and his like slow regard, all those different things. I'm like, let's just make that a whole little bit. And so doing that was a fun little challenge, just to anything that helps me get challenged creatively. Because if you find something that's like, oh, this is just a walk in the park, it doesn't really like challenge you or makes you feel like you accomplished something when you finished it. So I try and jump the shark every time I make a song, or at least trying to figure out an idea just to like go bigger or better than what you had the time before.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the collaborations that you've done with people. You've done a couple things with some friends of this show in particular. You've also done numerous collaborations on TikTok itself. What does that collaborative process usually look like for you?
So like the main one that I've done in the past, or I think this was actually the first one, was with Weston, and we did that the Bare Naked Ladies song. And we had the idea, and I wrote it all out and was like, here's what I think it would be, and just recorded it and sent the whole thing over to him, and then was just like, part A, part B, you know what your part would be. And then sent it over to him, and then he touched it with the power of the bards of the world and made that thing sound 1,000 times better than what I could have only imagined. So if I would have edited it, it wouldn't have sounded as good at that time, because this was before I had Ableton at that period. But generally it's the fever dream, write down the whole thing, record it so they have the idea of what it is, and then send them my part with the sample of like what their part would sound like.
Scratch track.
Pretty much, and like the stems and everything. And then after that, we would just kind of go back and forth and say, okay, here's what you did, here's what I did. Do we think we need to change anything? Would this lyric work better? And just kind of go with that. But for the most part, it's if I am doing a collab, it's generally if they want, I ask them like, do you want to write some of this, or do you want me to just get it taken care of and I'll write what would work for you? And I can help in that case. And if they let me have free reign, then I'll give it to them as soon as possible. Be like, all right, let's go. But otherwise, if it is something where I need back and forth and we're waiting on it, it adds to the process of it taking a little bit longer, but obviously makes it better because we get to have like both pieces of input when writing the lyrics.
Now I'm going to take this in the completely different direction for our last question. It is, as thankfully we're both wearing holiday sweaters, therefore it is the holiday time. What does this time of year mean to you, this kind of winter holiday season? Do you have any traditions? Is there a story that comes to mind?
It's not necessarily a holiday tradition, but more or less just, being thankful for friends and just being healthy, especially in this time of just kind of looking at four walls for a year and maybe going outside to check the mail, unless you can like DoorDash mail to your, like, it'd be like, hey, grab me some food. Also, just check my mailbox at the end of the drive. You'll know it's just grab it if it's there. So being thankful for that, and obviously like the vaccine, just letting us be able to go out and do things, and obviously still like wearing masks and being respectful for that, because obviously we want to not spread any more than we can.
For sure.
But being thankful for health and family and friends, and then also just it's fun to have Christmas content always come out. I always like whenever shows have holiday specials. So that's always fun.
Do you have a favorite one?
I want to say it was, what was it? I think it was like an Alvin and the Chipmunks. Nope, that's their Halloween one. I think it was when they had like Frankenstein. That was there. Okay. I'm trying to remember. I don't think I have a specific Christmas special. Oh no, I do. Elf with Will Ferrell. That's the one I always watch.
So good.
Super good. I wish I could throw snowballs as quickly as he could. But that was a good movie. And just overall, I don't know, the idea of gift giving is always fun. Yeah. That's why I like whenever someone's like, oh, do you want to help and collaborate on something, like how you had reached out with this, and how everyone else would ask me if I wanted to like work on something with them. And then they'll say, okay, well, yeah, do it whenever. I'm like, cool, I'll have it to you like next week. Let me just go ahead and do this really quick, or just try and get something done as quickly as possible. Cause I'd rather give out all the gifts instead of receiving everything. Because otherwise it's like, I don't need this stuff. You take all these cool things. And it's just fun making people happy. So that's the gift of giving is what I like the most.
Well, you've certainly made me happy today. It's been so fun talking to you. This has been a total joy. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for making it so easy.
Yes, I'm glad.
If people want to know more about you, where can they find you online?
So you can find me on TikTok at Dinkles, or you can find me on Twitter at Matt Denkins. And I have a YouTube and Instagram. Instagram is a website, I guess, but YouTube, I'm starting to post some other things. I have, I think the main thing I have on there is my Bo Burnham parody from back then, but I haven't done much else on there since. But the main two active ones are Twitter and TikTok, the main ones to find me.
Well, thank you again. And we will now cut to our next segment.
Welcome to Rumble, cause please have a lovely stay on this Traveler Con 3000 day. You can hunt for dicks or join the dance-off too on this island getaway. If you happen just to find a golden dick, be careful what you say or else it just might stick. Welcome to Rumble, cause please have a lovely stay and let chaos reign over you.
Thanks for tuning in to our second Critical Concert. We've got more music and more conversation over the next couple days. Feel free to drop in. And if you're feeling in the giving mood, I highly encourage you to consider donating to Amnesty International. We've set up a fundraiser for them if you'd like to donate on behalf of this community. There's a link below. Thank you in advance to anyone who's able to donate. We'll see you tomorrow.